there is a segment of our brothers and our sisters. They white, they black, they brown, they red, whatever color they is. But there's a segment of our brothers and sisters that's re-entering society after being incarcerated for a long period of time. And not only that, but we're dealing with a segment of people that was judged by the whole United States of America and was sentenced to 10 years, to 20 years, to 30 years, to 40 years, to 50 years, and have fulfilled that prison sentence. And now we're re-entering society. Yes, some of us were drug dealers, some of us were drug users, some of us was robbers, some of us was rapers, some of us was killers, some of us was maybe the most heinous things that probably could be humanly done. But if they wasn't given a life sentence, if they was given 40 years or 50 years or 30 years and they fulfilled that sentence and is back ready to re-enter society after paying a debt, who's talking about that society of people? What are we supposed to do? You know, our society's supposed to keep pointing fingers at us, say, you sold crack in the 80s, or you sold heroin in the 40s and the 50s, or you killed somebody in the 30s, or whatever you did. Are we to come back out? To come out of a prison just to come back into a bigger prison where we can't get jobs, where some of us never had jobs. Some of us don't know how to cash a check or write a check or sign a check. Because most of us, we live that street life. But we paid our debt to society. So what are we supposed to do? After being, because of my actions, I was a drug dealer. And so I often reflect back on those earlier years. Going up and start my bid off in USP Atlanta in 1995. Woo! So I already told you, I ain't never been to after school detention. I ain't never been to Utah. I ain't never been on timeout. I ain't never had to go to summer school to make up no grades or none of that stuff. So I don't, you know, I've been to the county jail twice. One time I was in there for 10 days, and another time I was in there for 12 days. I never been to the Stockade. I never been to TGK. I never been to DCJ. You know, I never been to all of that stuff. So man, I'm telling you, when we got into USP Atlanta, oh my God. You talk about getting your mind right. You talk about, man, you had to learn things on the go so quick. Bruh, I tell you, man, when me and my brother walked in USP Atlanta, man, felt like the death and the violence was so thick in that thing, and the air seemed like you could cut that thing with a knife. And then after being in there so long, over a period of time, you got to decide what you gonna do in there. You got to decide what you gonna do with your prison sentence. You know, you got to decide if you're gonna be a Christian, if you're gonna be a Muslim, if you gonna be a educator, if you're gonna be a Scientologist, if you're gonna be a yogist, if you're gonna be in the gang, if you're gonna be, you got to decide at some point in prison what you gonna do. How you gonna roll? Cause you're not gonna float around there by yourself. If you want to be a con artist, you could be that. If you want to be gay, you could be that. If you want to be this, you could be that. Whatever you want to be, you could be that. But you have to make that decision in there. Me, like I say, I'm not no violent guy. I'm not known for violence. I'm not known on the streets for violence. So you could imagine my route. I went the route to find God. And I'll tell you what's a funny thing. When we were young, we used to get them tattoos with the needles. So I remember my man Busilla, we over to the house, we smoking. So I get the little, the two swords, the two pitchforks on my arm. So man, I'm in the USP Atlanta, and I notice, I'm, walking throughout the day, and people say, man, what's up, cuz? I look at him, I just look back, with a peculiar look on my face. Cause I don't know what cuz mean in there. I don't know if it mean I'm a punk. I don't know if it mean I'm a sissy. I don't know if it mean I'm family. I don't know what that mean. So a couple of more times, dude called, what's up, cuz? So I went to one of my homeboys. I say, man, I be walking around here, man. Dude be talking about, what's up, cuz? So dude was looking at me. He seen them pitchforks on my arm. Man, he say, man, you got a gang sign on your arm. I'm like, yeah. He said, yeah, the pitchforks. I say, man, I went and got a tattoo. It's an ugly tattoo, man, but it covered that thing up so fast, man, because you have to decide what you gonna be with in there and who you gonna roll with. And then you think about that thing, years of this, years of somebody telling you what to do, years somebody telling you how to do it, years somebody telling you when to eat, when not to eat, when you can see your family, when you can't see your family, when you can use the phone, when you can't use the phone, when you can go outside, when you can't go outside, when you need to shut up or I'll beat your mouth out. And then you got the different personality of men that's walking the compound that you got to maneuver through that thing every day. And you got to be ready, especially in USP Atlanta. And so in places like that, and you not like, you might think that you could be on your own, you're not gonna be on your own. Cause I tell you, if something was to happen in prison to one of the homies and something happened, everybody that's a homie gotta come to them, cause they gonna come where you at. If something happened to you, and even though you think you into this and you in the church, if something happened to you with somebody else, ain't a homie, man, you gonna come out and you gonna have 300, 400, 500 homies out there, man, to my what's up? And you gonna be like, oh man, I ain't in no guy, I ain't with, nah, that's how it is in there. And you have to figure these things out. And then you go through the years of getting denied justice. So we become lawyers when we go to prison. We become preachers, we become whatever that is. Some of the most talented people that you will know. And most studious people that you will know are people that have been in that wall 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And so you travel through that. You travel through those different institutions and hundreds of different mentalities and mindsets, and you go through that for 20, 30, 40 years. And then after you done been down 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years, the prison administrative system, they label us convicts. Excuse me. So it doesn't matter. So after we've been in so long, it doesn't matter how many college courses we take. It doesn't matter how much we reform ourselves. It doesn't matter how many certificates that we get. When we go before the board, which they're called, They look at us as we're con in the system. So you'll find a person that gets sentenced to 5 years. They'll come in, and then when it's time for them to do their paperwork, the people let them get the maximum amount of halfway house they could get. They get the maximum amount of financial monetary gift that they give them when they leave. They give them the max on that. But then when you find a brother that done been down 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, it is like a war when we go in there. They don't believe nothing we say. They think we gonna steal the ring off their finger. They this and that and this and that. And that's how we're treated in prison. And so I'm the type of man whose record was so impeccable in the prison that I got my clemency signed by President Barack Obama. And I'm not saying I ain't do things in there, man, because I did some stuff in there, especially in my early years. I did some stuff. I sold drugs in prison. Man, I was on the verge of taking people's life in prison, man. Till I had to figure out what route I wanted to go. Cause I ain't no killer. But man, you can learn how to be a killer in prison. Yes, you can. Right? And so I chose to find God. Right? And even in finding God, man, that still don't mean that in finding God, I still had most of everybody in my family passed when I was in prison. And my beautiful daughter passed at 23 years old when I was in prison. So just because I was searching for God didn't mean, man, that my stuff wasn't getting turned down. It didn't mean that things wouldn't happen. It didn't mean that the world stopped. And then you bang through that stuff for years and years and years. I remember an incident where my family came to see me, and one of my daughters, she had on this, must be a tank top. And so the guard told her she could go in, but she needed to keep her coat on. So she got that big Northwestern coat on, and she got hot. She took the coat off. Man, this dude ran up on my daughter like he was a vicious pit bull or something. I told you don't take that fucking jacket off. You gotta leave out of here. Man, he was screaming on my daughter so hard, man. And I stood there for a minute. I'm in disbelief. And then I see my wife come and stand in front of me. I got tears going down my face, and my wife tell me, "No, Sonny, we were about to leave anyway. We about to leave. It's okay." This and that. And I'm standing on the sideline. I like, man, I'm not even in a position to protect my own family, man. And it might not mean that much to you, because if you so certain things that you don't experience, then you don't know the experience of it. So it might not be that serious to you. But it's another trauma for me. In the feds, when you go in to visit, they strip you naked. You got to strip naked, and you got to bend over, and you got to cough. And they got to see your hemorrhoids move, bruh. Before you go in there. You degraded before you go in there as a man. That's trauma. Before you go in there, you traumatized. You gotta get your mind right so you can go out there and see your people. After a dude done looked up in a place that you ain't never seen before. So if you've been in prison 40 years or 30 years and you done had 1,000 visits or 10,000 visits, that's how many times the people looked up in your butt. Trauma. Years of that. And so I tell my people, like we deserve a chance. What y'all think we was in there playing? You think 20 or 30 years, doing 20 or 30 years in prison is easy? You think that's not a punishment? You think we didn't cry? You think that we didn't suffer? You think that it's cake? You think that it's pie? Trauma. While I'm paying my dues to society. But what about those segment of people that's coming out right now that paid their dues, that suffered, that's coming out right now? That's 40 and 50 and 60 years old right now. What about that population? And if there's a sinless person that have not sinned, man, hey, glory, hallelujah, Holy One. Who gonna hire our brothers and sisters? Who gonna create jobs for them? Or that's just another segment of society that just have to figure it out on their own? That's just a question, society. I tell you this though, this society that everybody has come and tried to fix. They came with their money, they came with their technology, they came with their resources, they came with their army, they came with all of that stuff. And our community is worse off than it's been before. So ain't no cavalry coming to save us. Believe that. The only people that's gonna be able to save us is us. And we ain't got to have all the technology to do it. We ain't got to have the military and the resources that they got to do it. We only need one thing to do it, and it can happen overnight. All we need to do is love each other. Forgive each other. Pray for each other. Have empathy for each other. Respect each other. Love on each other regardless of how somebody is. Let somebody have the opportunity to be whatever they want to be. If they want to be a drug dealer, whatever they want to be, let them have the opportunity to be that. But if you could breathe on them, breathe some inspiration in them, but don't judge. Because one day we can stand to be judged.